Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to the 61 Reaver DPS guide. The cool thing about Reaver is you can play it on virtually every encounter in the game currently. So in this guide I'll be showing you where to spend your soul points, which masteries to select, as well as both single target and AoE rotations. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So looking at the soul tree breakdown, you'll see we do the full 61 points in Reaver. That's because you need to pick up a couple skills at the end, such as Viral Stream and Explosive Infestation. Moving over to the right, we'll take 8 in Tempest. We'll do 5 in Amped for a 10% attack power and weapon damage increase. We'll do 3 in Enhanced Power for a 6% increase of damage of non-physical attacks. And we also, with 8 in Tempest, get in Power, which will increase your range damage by 5% as well. For the third soul, we'll take Paragon and do 5 in Teaching of the 5 Rings, increasing your damage of attacks that generate attack points by 10%. And then the remaining 2 in Weapon Familiarity, increasing your attack power and weapon damage by 4%. So we talked about that. Let's go ahead and jump over into the masteries here real quick. Level 61, take Resonating Strikes. This is going to give you a 3% of your maximum health absorb shield every 6 seconds. Level 62, take Soul Regeneration. This is going to increase your incoming healing by 3%. Level 63, Gladiator Combat Training. This is going to reduce the cooldown of your Viral Stream by 9 seconds. This one's really important. Moving up to 64, we take Precision Strikes. This one increases the duration of your damage over time abilities by 6 seconds, making them 21 seconds long, which makes it line up with Viral Stream very nicely. Moving up to 65, we take Power Manipulation. This one right here is going to be your top single target DPS ability. If you are going to be using this more for an AoE type of environment, you can swap over to your power variation here if you like. However, the AoE without power variation is still really strong, so if you don't want to swap, you don't have to. So now we talked about the masteries, let's go ahead and jump into the macros here really quick. So looking at the macros for Reaver, you can see we don't have very many. The first one you'll see here is going to be my number 1 key down here, and it's going to have Explosive Infestation in it, Shadow of Dread, and then Ravaging Strike. Explosive Infestation is going to be a delayed type of damage attack. We'll talk about it more here shortly. Shadow of Dread is going to apply all of your Reaver damage over time abilities. We'll talk about that again as well. Ravaging Strike is just going to be your ranged builder spammer, so nothing too crazy there. Cast Itself Power Manipulation is going to be this ability right here. We talked about that. It is your level 65 mastery. Moving on down to the second macro, we have the Infestation Macro. So we have the Explosive Infestation Macro and the Infestation Macro. Infestation is another one of your delayed damage abilities. We'll go over here in a second. And then of course Ravaging Strike is again your ranged builder. And I'll explain how all that works in the rotation section. And then again, of course, the Power Manipulation line. Moving down to the third line, this is your manual dotting macro. This one is for if your Shadow of Dread is on cooldown. Shadow of Dread right here applies all known Reaver damage over time effects and awards 1 attack point. So if this is on cooldown and you need to manually apply to your damage over time abilities, you can have this macro. I put mine on my R key, so I can just tap my R key 3 times to apply those 3 different dots there. And I also have Dire Corruption on my bar here as well, so I can apply that as the 4th dot also. Moving on down to the 4th macro, this is just the Snare macro. If you've watched my guides before, you know that I don't typically like to place the ground targeted type of abilities without a GTAE modifier. So using this little GTAE modifier or ground targeted area of effect modifier will make it so that it will drop that snare on whatever you have targeted. So it makes it easier to manage and makes it easier to hit quickly. So that's it for macros, other than I do have a cast at self power variation. This is usually for when I use this for PvP. And I of course do have a K alert macro as well. So that's it for the macros. Let's go ahead and jump into what buffs to use and what's on the action bar. So coming down here, you'll see that I have a couple different buffs here. We have Pestilence, which increases the damage of Reaver damage over time effects by 25%. That's a pretty big one. We have Binding of Affliction. This increases damage of non-physical attacks by 5%. We have Plaguebringer, which makes your Reaver damage over time abilities affect up to 7 additional enemies, dealing less damage than to the original target. We have Empower from your Tempest tree. This increases damage of range attacks by 5%. Way of the River increases physical crit by 3%. Enhanced Conductivity, this one makes your target take 2% more damage from you. And then of course we have our Power Manipulation here and our K alert here. So that's it for the buffs. Moving on down, we have the Ravaging Strike on my Z key. This is going to be your ranged builder. This is just in case you don't want to use a macro, you can use it separately. Moving over to the right one more, we got Viral Stream on the Q key. This is going to be your hardest hitting ability that you have, or one of the hardest rather. This one right here is going to be really important to have off by itself, so make sure you do that. Moving over to the right one more, we got Shadow of Dread. That is going to be in your macro, but I also keep it separate just in case you want to use it outside of the macro. And of course the R key is going to be your manual dotting macro. Over right one more, we have power variation by itself. I do swap out these masteries from time to time, so I like to have them on the bar so I can use them when I need them. Over to the right, you'll see I do have the 4 Reaver damage over time abilities here that are used. When you apply your Shadow of Dread, it's going to apply these 4. Something to note, each one of these 4 abilities has a debuff associated with that, so it's really strong in PvP. Like one of them will stop or will decrease incoming healing by 15% on the target, and one of them will decrease the outgoing healing from the target as well. We'll talk more about that here in a bit. So moving on to the right, of course, we do have the self macro here. This is the power minute variation, healing macro here, and then of course I have a couple different PvP abilities up here. Over down on the main bar, we have the Explosive Infestation Macro on 1, the Infestation Macro on 2, Dire Blow, which is going to be your finisher, Rancid Cleave, which is going to be your AoE builder, Desecrating Blow, which is going to be your AoE finisher, and then of course we have Crest of Entropy, which is going to be a approximately 7,000 damage absorbed on a 1 minute cooldown. Kind of lackluster there, but it can help, I guess. Moving over one more, we got the Snare Macro on 7. We have Cloak of Death, which is going to apply stealth and remove movement impairing effects, prevents damage from breaking stealth for 6 seconds. This is a nice oh crap button to get you out of combat. Moving over, we got Shadow Warp. Teleports 15 meters forward on a 20-second cooldown. It'll also remove all damage over time abilities on you that aren't bleeds as of a recent patch. One more, we have the Interrupt. This isn't just your normal run-of-the-mill interrupt though, because with your points spent in Reaver, this will also stun the enemy for 3 seconds. Which is actually pretty good, because if you're using this in PvP, you can stun an enemy every 8 seconds as long as it's a different enemy, because it does have a 45-second cooldown on it per enemy. So if you use this on that enemy and in 3 seconds is up and you use it again after it's off of cooldown, it won't stun that enemy again until 45 seconds has passed. Moving on to the right, you'll see we got the break free, of course, on the equals key. So that's it for the buffs and the bar, guys. Let's talk about K alerts here for a second. So looking at the K alert system, I don't track a whole lot of stuff, just a couple of dots, and of course the Fester buff. This is what it looks like. You can see it pretty much looks almost identical to what this looks like here. We're just tracking our dots. I use the tracking mostly for PvP to make sure that stuff's not getting cleansed, because a lot of your abilities depend on having your damage over time abilities active on the target for your damaging abilities to hit harder. For instance, your Viral Stream, damage is increased by 30% for each Reaver damage over time ability on the target. So if they cleanse those abilities off, your Viral Stream will hit for a lot less. The same goes for your Infestations. This one right here is increased by 45% per Reaver damage over time effect, and this one here is increased by 45% per Reaver damage over time effect as well. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up your dots as much as possible, which is why I have the manual dotting macro here, because if I don't have it on it, you definitely do not want to use either of these 3 abilities on the target until you have your damage over time abilities up. So that's pretty straightforward there. You also will get a buff called Fester whenever you cast one of your Infestations. So you don't want to cast them back to back. You want to kind of stagger them, because they're on a 21-second cooldown and the buff lasts for 15 seconds. So when you cast one of these, you'll get a 15-second buff for a 15% increase in damage on all your abilities. So you want to stagger them so you can have 100% uptime on that. So now that we talked about the K alerts, let's go ahead and talk about the single target rotation. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to target yourself, and you're going to cast Power Manipulation. After that, you're going to select your target, which is this Raid Boss Practice Dummy in front of me. And then you're going to use your 1 macro 3 times, which is going to cast Explosive Infestation first. And then again, you're going to hit Shadow of Dread. 1 more time, we'll cast your Ravaging Strike, which is just the ranged builder. After that, you're going to go use your finisher, Dire Blow, and then immediately go into using Viral Stream, at which point when it finishes, you'll have 3 attack points again, and you'll use the finisher again. After that, you're going to move into your Infestation Macro. You cast Infestation, which awards 2 attack points, and then cast your number 2 key 1 more time to cast Ravaging Strike, giving you that 3rd attack point where you can use your Dire Blow finisher again. After that, you're going to use this 2 macro again 3 times, which is just going to cast your Ravaging Strike, because everything else is going to be on cooldown, and then you're going to use a finisher. At that point, you're going to start all over again. This is all based on a 21-second block. Very, very easy to learn and use. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Target ourselves, cast Power Manipulation, select our target. We're going to use our 1 key 3 times, so Explosive Infestation, 1 again for Shadow of Dread, 1 again for Ravaging Strike, finisher. Going immediately into our Viral Stream here. You can see it's hitting very hard. Finisher. Now we're moving into our 2 macro Infestation, Ravaging Strike, finisher. Now we're just going to keep hitting our 2 key to hit Ravaging Strike 3 times. And we're going to go into our finisher again. You can see the 1 key is now off cooldown, so we're going to go back into that. So 1 key 3 times, and we're going to hit a finisher, go immediately into our viral stream until it finishes, 3 combo points, use a finisher, move over to 2 macro, hit it twice, use a finisher, and then we're going to hit the 2 macro 3 more times, and use the finisher. At which point we start all over again. You can see we're pulling about 50 or 51 right now. This is a very RNG dependent, and this build does very well with raid cooldowns, so you might see much better numbers in a raid environment, but it does very, very well. As you can see, we're still pulling in the 52s after about a minute. So that's it for the single target rotation. Let's go ahead and show you what the AoE rotation looks like. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you have Plaguebringer toggled on, and the reason for that is because it's going to allow your Shadow of Dread to hit 7 additional targets, which is going to make up the bulk, or not the bulk, but a lot of your AoE damage. So after that, we can start the rotation. So it's going to be very similar to the single target rotation. You're going to hit the 1 macro twice, which is going to fire off Explosive Infestation, followed by Shadow of Dread. But instead of continuing on with your single target rotation, you're going to move and hit your 4 key Rancid Cleave, which will give you your 3rd attack point, at which point you can use Desecrating Blow to finish, which is your AoE finisher. After that, you're going to start your Viral Stream, which will give you 3 attack points when it's done channeling, and then you're going to use Desecrating Blow again to finish. After that, just like your single target rotation, you're going to move to your number 2 key, but you're only going to hit it once to fire off Infestation, which will give you your 2 attack points, at which point you'll move to your Rancid Cleave key again to give you your 3rd attack point, allowing you to finish up with Desecrating Blow. After that, you're going to use Rancid Cleave 3 more times, and then Desecrating Blow, and then that will end your 21-second block, and you can start again from the beginning. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. We got the centermost mob targeted here to make sure we have good coverage of our damage over time abilities, and let's start this off. So first you're going to hit Explosive Infestation, followed by Shadow of Dread, followed by Rancid Cleave, followed by Desecrating Blow. Then you're going to go into your Viral Stream. Once that finishes, use Desecrating Blow, and then you're going to use Infestation, followed by Rancid Cleave, followed by Desecrating Blow, and then you're going to just keep hitting your Rancid Cleave 3 more times until you can use a finisher, at which point you'll start over from the beginning. So here we go again. Explosive, Shadow of Dread, Rancid Cleave, and Desecrating Blow. Going into your Viral Stream. You see we're pulling in the 150s, it looks like there. Go down to Infestation, Rancid Cleave, Desecrating Blow, and now you're in your Rancid Cleave spam again. And once we're done with this, our 1 key should come off cooldown. You can see we're getting a little energy starved here. That's a staple of the Reaver build. It's very helpful to have a mage or a bard running living energy or an equivalent. But you can see we're still pulling about 150 or so. So pretty respectable AoE numbers. Definitely not bad at all. So, but that's it for the AoE rotation, guys. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.